Pada is word and pata means reading. Śrī Rukmiṇī uvāca. Śrī Rukmiṇī said, śrutvā, hearing, guṇān, the qualities, bhuvana, of all the worlds, sundara, O beauty, śrṇvatām, for those who hear, tvayy, your, nirviśya, having entered, karṇa, of the ears, vivaraiḥ, by the orifices, harataḥ, removing, aṅga, of their bodies, ṅga-tāpam, the pain, rūpam, the beauty, dṛśāṁ, of the sense of sight, dṛśi-matām, of those who have eyes, akhila, total, artha, of the fulfillment of desires, lābhaṁ, the obtaining, tvayy, in you, acyuta, O infallible Krishna, aviśati, is entering, cittam, mind, apatrapaṁ, shameless, my. Translation said in her letter, as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. There is a purport that was written after the lifetime of Prabhupada. Yeah, Rukmiṇī was a king's daughter, courageous and bold, and furthermore, she would rather die than lose Krishna. Considering all this, she wrote a frank, explicit letter begging Krishna to come and take her away. Wow. Gives me an opportunity to talk about my favorite subject matter.
The beauty of Krishna?
No. Actually, well, because Krishna made the varnashram, so there are different duties of human beings. Yeah, we take guidance from Krishna because he said in Gita, Chaturvarnam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. So I made varnashram. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. So this word vibhagashaha means divisions. So there are different divisions according to gunas, qualities, and karmas, according to that verse. But we also know that janma is a factor. Janma is birth. Just like, how do we know that birth is a factor? So in the Gita, there's another verse. Suchinam śrī-matām gehe yoga bhrashta abhijayate. Abhijayate means birth. So for those who did punya, they get a good birth. Karana guna sang, another Gita verse. Karana guna sangasya. The cause being associating with rajogun, tamogun, and sattvagun, the mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness. Sad asad yoni janmasu. Again the word janma, birth. You get a good birth or a bad birth. Rukmiṇī is the eternal associate of Krishna, Lakshmi Devi. Although our Gaudiya Acharyas say Radharani is the original form of Lakshmi. But generally in the Puranas, Lakshmi is the eternal associate of Narayana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that you should not distinguish between Krishna and Vishnu. There's no difference. It's the same person, but performing different activities. Just like, you know, the leader of the country in India is supposed to be secular, and our prime minister is supposed to deal with matters of state, but he goes to temples and bows down to the deities. He's like Maharaj Ambarish. We're living in a very good time. You know, Prabhupada had made a prediction that Atal Bihari Vajpayee would be the Prime Minister of India, and it came true. But the present Prime Minister is even more pious, even more religious, as we saw recently in the temple opening in Ayodhya. So, Prabhupada also, I heard this just a couple days ago. Somebody read one of Prabhupada, was it here? I can't remember, that in the spiritual, I think in the morning, Janardhan Maharaj, who read the day before yesterday, Prabhupada said in the spiritual world there's male and female, but there's no sex activity, right? Prabhupada said that. So in the material world, there is the attraction between male and female, and that's what the shloka is about, isn't it? Rukmiṇī wanted to be only with Krishna. The story is that her brother, Rukmiṇī, right? Rukmiṇī had arranged the marriage of Rukmiṇī to Shishupal. And Shishupal is one of the kings at the time. There was a system of kings. So there were many kings. They were called Samanta Rajas, small kings. They had their little kingdom. And Yudhishthir was the Chakravarti. Chakravarti means the wheel that turns. So the whole Bharata was under, that's why the history is Mahabharata, the great history of Bharata, which is the real name of India. India came from the Sindhu River, you know that. Sindhu became Hindu, Hindu became Indus, and Indus came to India for the British Raj. There's a book by the British Raj. Would you like to show that book to everybody? We have a godbrother, Rajashekar Prabhu, and I call him the British Raj, jokingly. And he just published this book about Calcutta. History of Calcutta. Before that, he wrote Prabhupada in South India. So I was there, so I was a consultant to that book. But getting back to the topic of the lecture. So the British changed the name. Otherwise, this land is Bharata. Even we have now the ISKCON Bharat Advisory Committee. We have to change all the other names from India to Bharat. IBA, you're a member of that, IBAC. Oh, even that's English. Hare Krishna. So, Rukmiṇī was attracted to Krishna, and in her letter, she spelled out all of the amazing qualities of Krishna. Dhanyavad. Wow. Anugrihitosmi. I am grateful to you. But when we talk about Krishna, there's the pastimes of Krishna and there's the instructions of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a 3-point program. Sometimes I joke, but we're old people, so we remember the administration of Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister. She had 20-point program. So I make a joke, that she had a 20-point program and India has a 1-point program, imitate the West. You've heard that? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a 3-point program. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha. Chant the name of Krishna. worship Krishna and follow the teachings of Krishna. So the teachings of Krishna are in Bhagavad Gita. And so the varnashram applies in the material world. We had that verse from Prabhupada, statement from Prabhupada, that there is male and female in the spiritual world. There is varnashram also in the spiritual world. I think so. Because Madhu Mangal is called a Brahmana, right? And he's one of the associates of Krishna. He's known for liking laddus. Sometimes they say, in Gujarat, they say, Brahmana bhojana priya. Brahmanas like nice food. And in North India, no, Brahmana bhajana priya. Brahmanas like to worship the Lord. And all the pujaris are supposed to be Brahmanas. And actually in all of the temples, the pujaris are men, not women. Why? Because a woman cannot have a yagnopavit sanskar. There's a lecture Prabhupada gave in Los Angeles in 1972. Women cannot take initiation, Brahminical symbolic representation. This is quote unquote from September 22nd, 1972. This is the theory. Now if you look in the dictionary, one of the definitions of theory is principle. This is a principle. Doesn't matter where you go, whether it's Krishna Balaram temple, Srinathji, Dwarkadish, Puri, Srirangam, Tirupati, Badrinath, every pujari is a man, not a woman. Why? It's a varnashram system, that's why. Because varnashram system is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. These four are only men, not women. They're only men. And how do we know this? In the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, chapter 9, text 27, Lord Krishna, remember him? Lord Krishna took Lord Krishna took Yudhishthir to Bhishma, who was lying on a bed of arrows. And to get instructions, Bhishma, we heard Prabhupada just now, that Bali Maharaj is one of the authorities, right? Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapilo, Manu, Pralada, Janaka, Bhishma, Balir, Vyasakir, Vayam. What is Vayam? Vayam, what is Vayam? What does it mean in English? Vayam. We. Who's speaking? Yamaraj. So Yamaraj says, we are the authorities in the Bhagavatam 6th canto. I don't remember the exact verse. So Bali Maharaj is one and Bhishma is also one. Even though Bhishma fought with Duryodhana. How is it possible to understand? Even Duryodhana was a disciple of Balaram. In Krishna Balaram Mandir. He was a disciple of Gada Yudh, right? Club, fighting with the club. Balaram didn't stay for the battle of Kurukshetra. He didn't want to see this fight because he had affection for Duryodhana. And Bhishma fought on the side of Duryodhana and he's a Mahajan. So what did Bhishma teach to Yudhishthir? So that shloka 1927. Raja dharman, dana dharman, moksha dharman vibhagashaha. Śrī dharman, bhagavat dharman, samasa vyasa yogataha. What are the duties of kings? Raja dharman. Now there are no kings, but the prime minister is like a king or like an emperor. The chief ministers are like kings, right? At least in Bharata today. Raja dharman, dana dharman, how to give in charity. And how to give in charity today, what is charity? Modern educational institutions and hospitals, right? That's charity. No, it's not charity according to the Vedic concept. That's not charity. What was the charity according to the Vedic concept? Digging wells, building dharmashalas, that was, and giving donations to brahmanas. The King Nriga story, right? It's also here, same 10th canto. Nriga became a lizard because of a small quarrel between two brahmanas. He had given charity, he had given cows to brahmanas. And this reminds me of something else I like to say. When somebody observes their birthday, they're supposed to give charity to brahmanas, not cut a cake and sing happy birthday to you. And all the Hindus, they've adopted this. Shocking, shocking. Oh, it's a very minor thing. Because we also participate. We also participate in these Hare Krishna to you. That's not how to celebrate a birthday. You're supposed to give charity to brahmanas and cows to brahmanas. What happened to Vedic culture? So Varnashram is supposed to be revived by having, Prabhupada also said, the ideal system of life is the Indian village system. He used the word Indian, he didn't use the word Bharatiya, but he meant the Indian village system, he said, is the ideal system of life. He also said that in India, everyone is more or less, we heard this at Juhu, on the beach, walking with Prabhupada. He said that in India, more or less, everyone is Krishna conscious, more or less. But they're being checked artificially by the government. Now it's turned 180 degrees. The government is promoting bhakti and Krishna consciousness. It's an amazing turnaround in 50 years. Amazing turnaround. I was in Puri last month for 8 days. And I have one thing to say. Naveen Patnaik, the Chief Minister of Orissa, Jayo Jayo Jayaha. In Sanskrit, it's not Ki Jai. Ki Jai is Hindi. Jayo Jayo Jayaha is Sanskrit. Jai Jai Jai. Because he spent 800 crores fixing up the area around the Jagannath temple. It's so beautiful, so nice. Who went there? Who saw that? Anybody? Well, quite a few people. Well, okay. Go. Next. We can't go in the temple, unfortunately. That's next. Actually, there's an idea, since I'm here. One devotee recently distributed Srimad Bhagavatam sets to all the pujaris in Tirupati, in Telugu or Tamil, whatever. So why not give all of those pandas in Puri Srimad Bhagavatam sets? So I have a friend who's a Sanskrit, he propagates spoken Sanskrit, he's Uriya. Oh my God, how am I forgetting his name? Anyway, yeah, old age. It's not coming. Anyway, so he said, oh, the pujaris, the pandas, murkhas. He said they're fools. Maybe they're fools. Maybe they're fools, but if they, just like, who are we distributing Prabhupada's books to? I mean, everyone is a murkha, isn't it? Who doesn't? Prabhupada just now in the tape, I listened very carefully. He said those who are Buddhists are called atheists. But he didn't explain. He explained in a simple language in those days, but they're called anishwarvadis. Anishwar. No Ishwara. Ishavasyamidam sarvam. That's the Vedic. Prabhupada said the Vedic, those who don't follow the Vedic concept are called atheists. So Ishavasyamidam sarvam means everything is owned and controlled by Ishwara, the Supreme Lord. So mostly we say we say, right, or Krishna says, why we say avajananti mam mudha. Fools, murkhas. Those who don't know me as the Supreme Lord, they're fools. So that's like outside of India, almost everybody, right? Isn't it? Outside of India, or maybe outside of South Asia. The Indian subcontinent, if we take Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, even the Pakistanis know our ancestors were Hindus. So, if we give Bhagavatam sets to the pandas in Puri, maybe someday they'll read Prabhupada's books and they may have a change. Right now there's the skin disease. If you're white, you can't go into the temple. Recently, some African American ladies, devotees, they went in the temple and it didn't stop them. They didn't know. Skin color. Skin color. Hare Krishna, what can be done? I don't know, I still have 5 minutes. Should I open it up to questions? Because we have a little time, I know. 9 o'clock is the cut off, right?
Yeah, it becomes electrical, the chair.
You make this into an electric chair. So, any questions? Yes, Maharaj. Maharajaya Namaha.
Prabhupada says in the purport about Ajamil that Ajamil saw a Sudra and a Sudrani
Right.
together. So is that proper? Sudrani means female.
Right.
You said there is no female Sudra or the name.
I think somewhere it says that they take the caste of their husband. There is, just like Dhritarashtra had a Vaishya wife, right? You know about that? You never heard? You know that, right? Because the wife of Dhritarashtra, the Vaishya wife, had a son, Yuyutsu. And at the beginning of the Mahabharata, Yudhishthir called out that anyone who wants to fight on the right side should come and join us, the side of Dharma. So Yuyutsu left his brothers, brothers from another mother. That's a popular modern kind of joking expression. We're brothers from a different mother. So yeah, Yuyutsu was from a Vaishya wife. But the karmas are only for men. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Women, that's why I quoted that verse, Śrī Dharma. Raja Dharman, Dana Dharman, Moksha Dharman, Śrī Dharman. Bhagavat Dharman means duties of devotees. So women have their own duties. We didn't get into the details, but Prabhupada was asked, there's 100 times, there's a famous little conversation with Yogeshwar in Rome, where Yogeshwar says, Prabhupada, today the women want equal rights with men. This is from 1974, 50 years ago. And Prabhupada said, not in Krishna consciousness. You should work in your constitutional position. He said, and the women don't say, I want to go with Prabhupada to Japan to preach. Prabhupada said this to Yogeshwar in Rome. He said that they're happy, engaging in, street dharma, cooking, cleaning. He said like that, yeah.
I don't want to open up many things, but shall we adapt according to time, place, and circumstances that the woman can also work?
Well, no, this is a good question, because, see, if we say Sanatan Dharma, Prabhupada said, we're not Hindus, we're following Sanatan Dharma. But there are other places where he said Hindus, He said both things. Sanatan means you can't change it. There's another statement from Prabhupada that millions of years ago, people were dying and today they're dying. What has changed? Nothing. Only there was a longer lifespan in Satya Yuga, we understand. Otherwise, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam is in Gita. Right? So, you cannot change, if they're in the male and female, Now they're changing artificially, right? Surgical procedures and hormonal injections. They call it transgender. It's artificial, right? Yes, Prabhu.
But it seems in the West, Prabhupada made some concessions. Like you were mentioning, how here in India, there's no place, they're all men pujaris.
Right.
But in the West,
he had women.
They were all women. And
not all women, but,
no, but
yeah.
And Jamuna was personally trained by Śrīla Prabhupada in deity worship, and she's the one who went to Jaipur and supervised the carving
the deity.
of the deities here in Krishna Ballroom. So, of course, Śrīla Prabhupada was Śrīla Prabhupada. He could do things, he could go to Acharya. But similarly, it doesn't seem that he followed every little details that Varnashram and all that. He saw a practical side, and he did even say that because I have accepted grihastas to preach, I have accomplished more than my godbrothers. And he sent the grihastas, couples, to London, and because of that, so much Krishna consciousness was spread. And personally myself, I think that in honor of those grihastas who sacrificed them to London and met the Beatles and all that, every morning we have the Govinda prayers being chanted in honor of their service. It was like an eternal recognition of the service that they accomplished for Śrīla Prabhupada, but they were grihastas, they weren't sannyasis. So it seems that Prabhupada had quite a different outlook on certain, a different angle on certain of these points that you're making.
Oh, you mentioned something very important there, and we take it one step further. Prabhupada was an empowered acharya, not only the founder acharya. So an empowered acharya can make adjustments. That's what we understand. We cannot make those adjustments. Now, my understanding, and yeah, it's my subjective opinion, Prabhupada established the deity worship all over the world, and he wanted it to continue somehow or other. 50 years ago, there weren't Indians in the West. Actually, Prabhupada condemned the Indians who left India. His opinion was, he said, only the greatest hogs can swim the ocean. He made a comment like that. He wasn't happy that Indians went to the West, but, I'm as bad as anyone else because my kids grew up here and now they're all there. So, you might call me a hypocrite or something. Maybe I am. I don't know. But see, there's an ideal, a Vedic cultural ideal that we should strive to attain. And if there's a lower standard, if Prabhupada permitted that due to time and circumstance, we should understand it like that, I feel. And how we're supposed to, you see, you made another good point. They preached, but what are we preaching? Remember Bali Mardan, our god brother? I don't know, you're a Prabhupada disciple, look, you're old enough. So there was a god brother, Bali Mardan, but very trusted disciple, who was one of the first BBT trustees, this thing, that thing, the other thing. Later on, he wrote a small book, Preaching in the Pacific Rim. Did you ever see that book? You didn't see it. You saw that? So he was the first one to go to Hong Kong, to go to Australia or New Zealand. Australia, transplanted Australian here. You have an Australian passport, I think, right? 3 passports. So he wrote that we didn't know what we were preaching. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Those aren't the verbatim words, but we didn't know what it was we were spreading. And we're still learning, right? Westerners are still learning. Now, I can converse in Sanskrit. I'm not bragging here, but I haven't studied all the Shastras. So, how many of our godbrothers can converse in Sanskrit? I'm not bragging here, but it's just a practical fact. Ne anyaha santi. Aham ekaki nasmi. Vartalapaha karomi samskrita bhashaya. Vartalapaha karomi. Ganta paryantam matkrite kashtam nasti. But I haven't studied Shastras. I haven't. There are many, many shastras, I haven't touched them. I feel ashamed. The point is there's an ideal, and then the practical reality Prabhupada dealt with, which was free mixing of men and women in the West. But the result of this free mixing in the West, and now it's in India, is illicit sex. And, illicit sex in the West is like drinking a glass of water. Right? I mean, it's, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. My grandkids went to Dallas 6 months ago, end of August, almost 6 months. And my granddaughter told me I'm the only virgin in the class. Now, it's not proper to say this, I feel ashamed to say this type of a thing. But this is the reality in the West. That's why child marriage was there. So that the high school girls didn't have to hook up with the high school boys. They would have already been married. So there are a lot of things that aren't ideal that we're dealing with. But there is a Vedic ideal. Okay, last comment. I joined the temple in 1973, February. And my temple commander was Sundara Rupa, who later on became a big sannyasi, and he was head of ISKCON in France. You might know him. He's expired. He passed away. So, when I joined, there was toilet paper in the toilet, and it ran out. And I said, Prabhu, he was a temple commander, there's no more toilet paper. So he said, there's a Vedic way to do everything. Right? I didn't know that after, evacuation, you use water, and you didn't use toilet paper. Right? So there's an ideal. The Westerners still use toilet paper, Western devotees. Anyway, we all take a bath in the same place where we evacuate. That's wrong. Actually, a bath means to go to the Yamuna and submerge your body. Bathing means submerge the body in water, not a shower or not a bucket bath. Snanam, that's why the Brahmins went to live in Bengal, because the Ganga was there. So they lived on the bank of the Ganga. Unfortunately, they all started to eat fish. So these things, because every Brahmin in Bengal, and there's a chart of all the vegetarians in India. And the topmost vegetarian state is Rajasthan. Gujarat is second. And Bengal is 2% and Orissa is 1%. Everyone eats fish. Every pujari in the Jagannath eats fish. What do? Can't pass a law. I was in Puri for 8 days, I mentioned. And I was walking, and I walked, from one part of the town to the other using my GPS on my phone. And I was shocked at how many chickens are being killed and how many eggs are being sold openly. Not one shop, not two shops. Dozens. Wine. In Vrindavan, you don't have it. And Chief Minister announced recently in Ayodhya there will be no non-veg and no alcohol. But in Puri, even though I bowed down to the Chief Minister earlier in this lecture, and he did a very good job, but can't stop, non-veg in Puri itself. They should stop.
Hare Krishna.
Time is up. Is there another? Time is up, President Prabhu? Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Was that a Jai? Oh, and I even got 100 rupees. Yeah, that's yours. So, Prabhu, should we take prasad together or something? Where? I think I should do the same.